You feel the hairs stand on the back of your neck as a cold chill runs down your spine. You're not sure if you're alone in the dark or is somebody watching your every move. Hi all, and welcome back to the channel and this week's new series, Phasmophobia, Ghosts and Demon Lore. Today we'll be delving into the history of poltergeist. According to Phasmophobia ghost lore, the poltergeist is one of the most famous ghosts and is also known as a noisy ghost. It can manipulate objects around it to spread fear into its victims. It has unique strengths, such as a poltergeist can throw huge amounts of objects at once. The weaknesses of a poltergeist is almost ineffective in an empty room. Now let's see what real-world lore says about poltergeists and how it stacks up against the game. The first time this spirit was known as a poltergeist was in 1848 and is a German word meaning noisy ghost or noisy spirit. This entity is responsible for making physical disturbances in order to unsettle and scare its victims. People have claimed to hear loud bangs and knockings coming from around their home. They have also witnessed objects being thrown and moved. It is speculated that some poltergeists have the capabilities of pinching, hitting, biting and tripping their victims. This entity gains its energy from causing great fear and terror. Poltergeists are usually centered around children and teens, leading many to believe these interactions to be nothing more than childish pranks. Many poltergeist reports have been proven false and have been made by children and teens trying to gain attention. Psychological researcher Frank Podmore proposed the naughty little girl theory for poltergeist cases. This was because he found most cases seemed to centre around an adolescent female who was causing disturbances for attention. I would now like to tell you a story, a pretty famous story, one I'm sure most will have heard something about. It all started in August of 1977 in a small council house at 284 Green Street, Enfield, London. What happened in this house over the course of 2 years shocked the community and the world. It's thought to be one of the most famous of all poltergeist hauntings recorded, and this is why. Single parent Peggy Hodgkinson lived at 284 Green Street, Enfield, London, with her children Margaret, aged 13, Janet, aged 12, Billy, aged 7, and John, aged 11. John, who was usually not at the home due to studying away at boarding school. Peggy was a strong single mother who worked really hard to keep her family going through this disturbing time. The first reports started on the 31st of August 1977 when Peggy heard noises coming from one of the girls' bedrooms. When she went into the room to tell them to quieten down and go to sleep, after becoming tired of hearing noises all night, Janet complained that it was not them, it was a single chair in the room, making the noises. Angrily, Peggy removed the chair and took it downstairs. Returning to the room, Peggy said goodnight and turned out the lights. The noises started again. She turned the lights back on and the noises stopped. The two girls were still, laid in bed, not moving. She again turned out the lights and the noises began again. The sounds that were described by Peggy was that of someone wearing slippers and shuffling across the room. Over the following days, the noises progressed into loud bangs that could be heard all over the house. Furniture then began to move, and in one room stood a chest of drawers. It had moved 5 inches away from one of the walls. Peggy moved it back. Within seconds, she watched in fear as the drawers began to slide towards her. This was now becoming too much for Peggy, so she took her kids round to her next door neighbour's house for safety. Peggy told them what had happened and asked if someone would come to take a look around her home with her. The knocking continued as they entered the home, but this time someone else was there to witness what was happening. Both adults, now feeling scared and not knowing what to do, called the police. At around 1 a.m, 2 police officers arrived at the Enfield property. They were confronted by a scared Peggy Hodgkinson, who would tell them of the strange occurrences that had been happening around her home. Both police officers, puzzled by what was being said, agreed to look around the home. On first inspections, they reported everything seemed normal. Then the noises began. Both police officers tried to identify where these noises were coming from, but could not pinpoint where they were. As they entered the kitchen, they witnessed a chair slide across the room, and both became astonished by what they had witnessed. They could not do more to help and later had to leave the property, later filing reports of what they had witnessed. Over the following weeks, the activity in the home became more and more aggressive. It began throwing objects at the family. Scared, they all slept in one room together for comfort and safety. Peggy reached out to the newspapers asking for help, and as before, many came to the home and witnessed the strange happenings. After reading about the property, paranormal investigators entered the home to see if they could help the family. Over the span of a couple of months, 2 paranormal investigators spent much of their time in the home documenting the many disturbances happening daily. Little did they know things were about to get serious. By the end of 1977, the investigators had witnessed large pieces of furniture being moved without anybody near. They stated it seemed if it was not nailed down, it would be moved. In one case, in the bedroom of the girls, an old Victorian cast iron fireplace was ripped out of the wall, while everybody was sat in the front room. Although these investigators were convinced, many were still skeptical about the hauntings, saying they thought it were the girls playing pranks for attention. The activity within the home now seemed to target Janet. It started subtly at first, like throwing small things at her, with noises following the girl around the home, before things started to take a frightening turn. Marks would start appearing on Janet, like she had been slapped or bitten in the night, with no explanation. Janet would start levitating as if being moved by an otherworldly presence and dropped without any warning. Then started the voices. Janet would start to speak with a very strange voice, described as a low, gruff type of voice, like she was speaking as an old man. Over the months, this was documented by the researchers, with a very famous clip being made public. They asked Janet who this entity was and how it died. This entity replied, "My name is Bill. Just before I died, I went blind. Then I had a hemorrhage and I fell asleep and died in a chair in the corner downstairs." Later, the investigators were contacted by the son of Bill, who confirmed that his father had passed from a brain hemorrhage and had died in the chair downstairs in the front room. By July of 1978, Janet was admitted to hospital for psychiatric help, and after 2 months she was released. When arriving home, the disturbances stopped just as quick as they had started, with the family returning back to normal life by the start of 1979. As you can tell, Phasmophobia has got their lore correct about poltergeists, and if you want to know more about this subject and this spirit, there are loads of stories out there and loads of evidence for you to go through. It's up to you how you see or how you believe on spirits and lore. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until the next time, stay spooky. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated.